Hello there, I'm Koosh. I'm going to try to make this video as coherent and concise as I can, but I am probably going to fail at that, so bear with me. I've gotten a couple messages and like DMs and such asking about my keybind, so I thought, what the hell, we'll make a quick video explaining how I keybind my tunes on Swtor. Okay, so starting with the mouse, I use the Razer Naga Pro. Razer Naga, same thing. It's the MMO mouse that has the 12 buttons on the side. So my top bar here, my num 1, 2 through 12, right? That is my 12 buttons on my Naga. So I hit the number 1 on my mouse. That's my basic attack. Hit number 3. That's that. I hit the 10th spot. Sends my taunt. So these 12 buttons correspond with my top row. I think that's pretty much just standard, right? What I did, I took that to the next level. When I click in my scroll wheel in the Synapse software, I changed that to Alt. We have our normal 12 buttons. When we click in the scroll wheel, that allows us for 12 more binds. Yes, I'm a psychopath. So my top row is my 12 buttons. My bottom row is my clicking in the scroll wheel 12 buttons. So carb is in the 8th slot. I click in the scroll wheel and hit 8, and then we carb. Sounds crazy. There was definitely a little bit of a learning curve to that for me. It honestly didn't take too long. I started playing this game at launch, and I took a couple-year break in the middle there and came back, started playing in 6.0, and it was literally just like riding a bike. The Naga Pro also has 2 buttons on the top. I use this bottom one for my auto run, and then the top one I use for my mount. The only thing that can get annoying sometimes is when I'm tab targeting and clicking in my scroll wheel, because then we get like the alt tab or whatever, but it doesn't happen enough for me to be like, oh god, I must fix this, and I'm lazy. And I just use the scroll wheel regularly to zoom in and zoom out my camera. I use the right click to move my camera quite a bit. If you ever watch my gameplay or like raid clear videos, you can tell my cursor is hardly ever there. I pretty much always have the right click held down. That's just my personal preference. So that's the mouse. Again, like I said, the top row is the 12 buttons. Bottom row is clicking in the scroll wheel that's set to Alt, and then we have our 12 more buttons. I did the inputs as num, so that allows me to use my 1 through 10 keys on my keyboard. I do play with a slight tilt to my keyboard, and it just feels a lot more natural. For my defensive cooldowns and offensive cooldowns, I have 1 through 6. Those are just like the easiest ones I can hit like without a lot of brain power. 7, 8, 9, 10, I felt more like I had to physically take my hand off my WASD key, so I can just boom, boom, boom. In my 1 slot, I always do like my oh shit button. So for on my power tech, that is our EP. For my Sin Tank, that would be Force Shroud, and for my jug, that would be Saber Reflect. Again, my defensive and like offensive cooldowns are just 1 through 6. And then to the left of that, just for like other utility stuff, I have X, V, Q, and E. I know some people use Q and E to like turn their camera or whatever. I actually am pretty sure I unbound that. So for strafe left and strafe right, I changed that to A and D. So I can just use my WASD to move my tune. For me, it just feels more natural to right click and move the camera. And then I can use my WASD. And then by unbinding Q and E of the camera turning, that allows me to use 2 more keybinds that are just very close to where my fingers are. So I can just hit Q to hydros, and then E I can spam for rockets. What I really like for my PT opener, I'll usually pair Explosive Few with Oil Slick. I can hit those at the same time because they are off the global cooldown, and then I can get right into spamming my abilities. And then also I'm using abilities on the mouse while spamming E for my rockets. So you essentially can do 2 things at the same time. Yes, we're talking microseconds here, but whatever. It feels smooth. And then on the right is pretty much stuff I don't use a ton, but I like having access to. So then we can just access those with Shift X and then Shift C if I want to use my DPS Adrenal on my tank or whatever. If you do get a Naga or a MMO mouse, what I would recommend is consistency. And what I mean by that, just to help with your muscle memory and like the learning curve of a mouse like this, is what I did is like, so num 1 in that slot always my basic attack. And then like 8 was always my spammable AoE. My alt num in this third spot is always like a leap in. Like my taunts are always in this spot. My regen is always in this spot. My break is always in that spot. My builder is always in that spot. My interrupt is always in this spot. So it just helps with the learning curve and muscle memory. And it did get to the point where I've been using this mouse for what, like 10 years, where I do switch stuff up a little bit more. So what it looks like inside here, right? So we just have our main quick bar 1. There's the binds. There's our quick bar 2. There's the binds, and pretty straightforward stuff here. I used to click back in the day when I first started playing, would just click everything, didn't really have anything bound, and now I feel very comfortable where I'm at with my binds. Like I said, clicking in the scroll wheel, I haven't seen done a ton, but it just allows you 12 more buttons, and I'm all about efficiency. For targeting, I just tab. I tab target. I just really like the flexibility of being able to activate abilities with my right hand on my mouse and then have my left hand for movement, and being able to also do abilities that are mostly off the global cooldown, and you can just hit them at the same time. And at this point, I'm just rambling. I love you all, and thank you so much for watching.